Hi, welcome to a new little video. I hope you enjoy the vibe that I've got going on. I decided to film this at night. I thought it would be a nice cozy little atmosphere for a winter reading list. Let's get into this list. I'm actually going to start with the book that I last read because I have not talked about it yet and I really enjoyed it and I want to get my opinion out there. It's Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Obviously Sally Rooney is a very popular author. I love her as an author. I've read Normal People and Conversations with Friends, both of which I love. Normal People especially, it's one of my favorite books. The show is just absolutely amazing, and so I was always going to be reading Intermezzo. I didn't necessarily think that I would read it before Beautiful World, Where Are You? But weirdly enough, I feel like Beautiful World, Where Are You is the one that interests me the least of all her books. Anyway, my thoughts on this. I believe that this is her best work up to date. Like I said, haven't read Beautiful World, Where Are You? So I don't know, but what I have taken away from this is that she kind of explored more narrative styles and storytelling. I really enjoyed the way that she would switch the writing style when in a different character's point of view. So whether we were in Peter's head or Ivan's head or Margaret's heads, we were always reading it a little differently, especially for Peter, who is, I think, the most experimental of the three. A lot of people didn't like the way that she wrote Peter's character or found it hard to follow. I will say it does require more attention, but I love the way she wrote his point of view. I feel like it's just very conscious thoughts in short sentences. I don't know if that makes sense. Everything tumbling in your head one after the other, and I do think that if you were to describe how you live through life, that's kind of how it goes. Not necessarily how it feels, but how it kind of goes. I really enjoyed being in his point of view, even though he is the least likable character. I just found him to be quite relatable in some aspects, and I feel like the way that she wrote his point of view made him somewhat redeemable for the other negative qualities that he has, or at least enjoyable to read. For Ivan though, I really enjoyed him as a person in general. I feel like he just represents kind of the solitude that you experience in your 20s and the loneliness. I do think that it is a little long, so I do think that overall Normal People is going to be my number one, but I believe that this is going to be a close second. I don't know how I'm going to feel about Beautiful World, Where Are You? But out of the ones I've read right now, it's Normal People, Intermezzo, and then Conversations with Friends. Okay, now onto my winter reading list. Starting off with the book that I am currently reading, it's Swimming in the Dark by Tomasz Jedrowski. I want to say it like that. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I don't think it's very winter themed necessarily. It's just the book that I'm currently reading, so technically I'm gonna be reading it in winter. I consider December the beginning of winter. It kind of just follows this boy who writes a letter to allegedly his past love interest, and it takes place in Poland after World War II when the country is under the rule of the Soviet Union, and it talks a lot about homosexuality and the struggles that come with that, especially at the time where it was even less accepted than now. It has a lot of sad elements to it. It opens and they're separated, both of the boys, so I'm sure it's going to be even more emotional. I do find it hard to read these days, so I don't know if it's necessarily the book's fault, but whenever I try to get back into it, I take a few pages before I'm fully into the story again. I feel like I have to be extra conscious of what I'm reading, which is not necessarily the book's fault, or it doesn't even take away from the story, but it does make it hard every time to get back into it. Now onto my list. First, I would want to read The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Never read any of her books. I did start this in 2021 and I read 200 pages, I want to say. Never finished it. I think that I am a lot more mature and ready to read it now, so I would really like to read it this winter. It does explore the theme of loneliness, which is kind of what I want to read in this season anyway, so The Goldfinch. Next, I've got Lonely Castle in the Mirror by Tsujimura. I heard that this is really comforting and it talks a lot about mental health, loneliness, obviously. From what I know, it is very well known in Japan. I heard Emily Madison talk about it in a video for books from strong female protagonists, and I really love those kinds of books, so Lonely Castle in the Mirror. I strongly believe that winter is the best time for classics. Not that I read classics a lot, but I do want to get into them a lot more in the upcoming years, and one of the ones I really want to read and have been wanting to read is Anna Karenina by Tolstoy. It's a break, but I've heard it's amazing. I've only heard good things on this story, and I feel like exploring the entire life of a character is going to be so meaningful. I don't even know very well what it's about, but I know that I want to read it. Moving on to other classics, I really want to read Little Women this year. I have watched the new film, the one by Greta Gerwig. I love it. It's one of my favorite films ever, and I am waiting till I've read the book to rewatch it this winter. I want to watch it before the holiday season. It's probably going to be one of my next reads. I can't believe that I haven't read it yet. I'm hoping to find it in a thrift shop because I have the movies edition, actually, the one with the photos from the film, but I don't want to annotate that one. I want to annotate another one. So hopefully I will find it in a bookshop and read it this year. I also want to read White Nights by Dostoevsky. I've heard amazing things about this book and that it kind of reshapes your view on love. That's the reason that it interested me in the first place. I hope that it will actually change my life like people say it does. So I'm really looking forward to reading that in the near future, hopefully. More classics, but this one is French. It's Chérie and la fin de Chérie by Colette. I've really only heard of this book described as revolutionary for feminism in the way that it explores female sexuality, especially at the time that it was written. I am pretty sure that it follows a woman who has a relationship with an older guy, and it's kind of about the liberation of women and their sexuality and their independence from the state and norms and political views, laws, etc. It's 2 books in one, but it's very short, and I've heard that it's just a great book to read as a woman, so yeah. This summer I bought this collection of short stories called The Closed Door and Other Stories by Dorothy Whipple. It's from the book editors that re-edit old women's works because they kind of fell into oblivion because of the fact that these were women who were writing at a time where it wasn't allowed, and so people didn't read them as much, and so they're getting re-edited at Persephone Books. And this is the one I picked up when I was in Bath over the summer because I thought it would be nice to have a little short story collection. I kind of want to read it as a sort of advent calendar where I read one story once in a while before Christmas. Hopefully that works out. Very excited about this one. I remember reading a passage from the story and I really liked the writing. I'm gonna rapid fire a few more. I really want to read Small Things Like These in December as well. It's by Claire Keegan. It's a book that got so much attention and that is really highly praised. The cover is obviously very Christmas themed. There's a movie that came out and it just sounds amazing. It's also by an Irish author and I really like the way that they write. So naturally, I want to read it. Would really love to read Boy Parts by Eliza Clark. Now this is more of a autumn read because it has like the weird element of autumn, but obviously autumn is not for another whole year, so I hopefully will read it before. I've heard great things about this book, especially in that type of weird psyche. I've heard it being compared to stories like Bunny and My Year of Rest and Relaxation in the weird atmosphere that it has. I'm pretty sure it's about an obsessive protagonist, and I'm very curious to read it. Similarly, there is Gold Rush by Olivia Petter, which I've heard opens in a very love-lust kind of way, and then it kind of goes downhill as you continue reading. I heard about it very recently, and it sounds amazing. I really want to read it. Authors I would like to read in the winter also, there is Friedrich Backman. I've read 2 of his works, and I feel like they have a very very winter feeling to them. Specifically, I would want to read either Anxious People or Bear Town, because I do believe that Bear Town takes place in the winter, and I've heard amazing things about both. And then another author that I'm hoping to read this winter is Annie Ernaux. I've asked my brother to give me one of her books for Christmas, so hopefully I will be reading some of her works. I've only read one of her published work, and I don't think that it was the best one to read, definitely, but I'm very interested in reading the rest of her works, particularly the one where she talks about her relationship with her father, I believe. That's basically my winter reading list. I'm sure that I won't follow it to a T and that I'll have some books that have nothing to do with winter in there, but as of right now, those are the books that I'm hoping to read pretty soon. If you have any other recommendations kind of with similar themes or other winter recommendations, I will gladly be taking them. But I hope you enjoyed this sit down video. I haven't filmed one of those in a while, but yeah, I'll see you very soon. Bye.